It's almost like Erin Blanchfield was in high school. She was writing a test at her little desk, and she kept peeking over to the other side. She was cheating on somebody's Scantron sheet, so then they just gave her another multiple choice because she goes from one difficult test to the next. Erin Blanchfield originally scheduled to be taking on Maycee Barber this weekend. Barber out, in steps Miranda Maverick. Now, the fight fell apart about a month ago, so each lady has known about this one for some time. But neither won an easy test for Blanchfield, and I have this to say. Why cannibalize your prospects? We don't need this fight. This is a fight that should happen in 2 years, 3 years, when these women are in the top 10, in the top 5. We don't need it right now. But we are going to get it, and I'm not going to complain, Matt. Erin Blanchfield is one of the most interesting prospects coming out of the New York, New Jersey area that we've had in some time. She's such a great grappler. You know the pedigree of her wrestling, of her jiu-jitsu at Renzo's, of her striking that continues to advance. You want to see a great Erin Blanchfield fight? Look at the fight that she lost by split decision to Tracy Cortez. How big is Cortez? How good is Cortez with her grappling? Pretty good. Erin won that fight. I'll take it to my grave. But if you really want a good display...
Craig thinks the losing fighter in a close decision won. What a surprise.
You want a good display of her striking? Look at her fight against Victoria Leonardo, where she capitalizes on that head kick. She goes to the well. She gets the win. She looks amazing, Matt. Blanchfield with that lone blemish on her record. I don't even consider it a blemish. For Miranda Maverick, will they pump her fights that she won on the Phoenix...
they gotta stop.
The one-round fights that she had with Invicta in the tournament? They might. But if you look at the level of competition that she has on her record, even in the 5-on-in, Deanna Bennett, Pro Gonzalez with Invicta, UFC caliber, she beats Liana Jojua by TKO, she brutalized her nose. Courtney Casey did that recently. She beats Gillian Robertson at Robertson's own game until the dying seconds of the third round, where, yikes. And then against Maycee Barber, a very, very close fight. She loses by split decision. But again, I hate to be the split decision contrarian that I am. Miranda Maverick won that fight.
What a surprise.
We all know it.
It was close. This is the problem. Miranda Maverick lost her ability to argue with the result of that fight because she didn't really separate herself that much from Maycee Barber. And this is what I'm going to say. These three ladies could fight each other every single day, and they would all have a different outcome every single time. Like, Miranda Maverick, Maycee Barber, and Erin Blanchfield all do have very similar games, and all are at very similar stages of their careers. It just really comes down to how are they each going to develop in their own right. Because for Blanchfield, like you brought up, she's this phenomenal grappler. She's got this great wrestling and overall jiu-jitsu base, but she's been able to make these massive strides in her striking, and Blanchfield's ceiling is going to be dictated by how good her striking is able to get. Because let's say she is able to start putting big combinations together to at least back her opponents up against the cage. That's going to give her another weapon with her forward pressure that she doesn't already have. Like, I know it didn't really work out this way, but my point was right. Where Clay Guida doesn't really pressure his opponents with his striking much anymore. It's a lot of that, I'm going to march you, I'm going to try to cut you off with my feet, then I'll wrestle you into the cage. For Blanchfield, that is sort of her game right now, but you can tell that she's starting to open it up, like you had said. The advancements in her striking are very noticeable. It's a very promising thing to see from such a young fighter. For Maverick, it's so interesting because she's such a hyped up prospect. She has a lot of promise, but I got to be honest, and maybe I'm the only one, I don't feel like she's progressed that much throughout her UFC career. I feel like we got a very good version of Miranda Maverick. No. My point is, I feel like Maverick came over as a very, very good version of herself. Like a college player who played for 4 years and then got drafted. Like, she showed up, was very good. I just don't know how much more she's improved since her initial UFC debut.
Let me fill you in. I mean, for Miranda Maverick over the time since she lost that fight against Maycee Barber. And listen, MMA decisions, 22 media votes on this one. All of them 29-28 Maverick. The judges in that fight, Sal D'Amato, Dave Hagen, both scored at 29-28 for Barber.
If it's a close fight and you lose the third round, I don't think you can complain that you lost the decision.
Chris Lee had it for Miranda Maverick. I hate to agree with Chris Lee, but on that one I will. But if you look at it for Maverick, she was a part of Andrea Lee's camp for her fight against Calvillo, or at least bits and pieces of it. She's also moved her training to Colorado. She's been training at Elevation with Raquel Pennington, JJ Aldrich. Last weekend's fight of the night, one half of it, Mallory Martin. For Maverick, though, you really like that because that's going to help her cardio training at high elevation. It's going to help with those wrestlers as well, getting ready for a fight against Blanchfield, who, by the way, is so slippery when it gets to the mat. Now, in the Guida comp, If it goes between round 1 and round 2, is Blanchfield going to let out like an earth-shattering burp, do you think, like Clay Guida?
Probably not. And Clay Guida's hair might even be longer.
Does she have a brother that's going to slap her up before the fight?
I hope not. Like, do you remember Jason Perillo slapping Chris Cyborg?
Yeah.
Like, that's disturbing. You don't need to hit her that hard.
All right, well, we look at this fight, 2 uber prospects, both good in their own right. We talked about Blanchfield with the complete game, and we said the fact that Maverick is like one of those 5-tool players out of college, but so far to me, she's been like Kyle Pitts. I was sold a bill of goods. I'm supposed to get all these fantasy points. I take them near the top of the draft, and now I'm sitting here going, Kyle, you've had 3 good weeks, bud, but I'm sitting you for Dawson Knox of the Bills.
So, I can one-up you. I took Michael Porter Jr. with the 3rd pick in my fantasy draft this year, and he's out with back surgery. It gets worse, Craig.
All right, Matt, but when we focus on this one, we pick out ways to win, and we'll talk about it. The odds for this fight, Maverick opened a plus 135. She's a minus 146. Blanchfield open a minus 155. She's a plus 121. If we look at this card in terms of big movers and shakers, Maverick the biggest at a 49% clip. We look at the Topology votes for this one. Not even close. 596 total votes, 79% Maverick, 87% by decision. The 21% that have Blanchfield, 84% by decision. Matt, all of this is a surprise to me.
I think Erin Blanchfield's going to get it done. I do. The problem with Miranda Maverick is that I've seen her get taken down by much lesser wrestlers than what I believe Erin Blanchfield is. Gillian Robertson is not a bad MMA fighter by any means, but she was able to control and at least take down Miranda Maverick on a couple of different occasions throughout their fight. And if Blanchfield's able to get a very similar position on her, I don't think she's going to give it up. I think she is the much bigger fighter and the much more physically dominant fighter too. And that has to be said about both these two women. I feel like strength is a big factor in both of their games, so we'll be really interested to see who wins that first wrestling exchange between the two of them, but I do believe Erin Blanchfield is going to be able to get it done.
I've got Miranda Maverick in this fight, and I'll give you 2 reasons why. Love the well-roundedness. I think that if she concedes a bit of the second round, again, it happened in her last fight, a bit of the second round and the third round, she started to tire a little bit against Robertson, but again, they trained together for her last fight against Barber, so you love to see that. Training with Andrea Lee, that's only going to make you better. I think those advancements add elevation, and you don't like to look too much into IG, but here's what I'll say. She's almost on weight, and she's been in great shape getting ready for this one. I absolutely love to see it. I love the professionalism that it's taken in this camp to get to that place. I like Maverick in this fight, but man, this is a close one. I'd sit back with pop and popcorn and enjoy it because I'm right on the fence of this one. I got to let that be known.
I don't think being on weight 2 weeks before a fight's a good thing at all. I think
Almost on weight.
I think it's really bad, though. Because either one of 2 things happen. Either A, you're not big enough for this division at all because everybody else is cutting weight. Or B, you decided to cut your weight too early and your cardio won't be there by the time of the fight. Like, you may have burnt up too much of your own fuel in your training camp, and that's what I'm worried about. That's a big point in boxing where, like, you want guys to be a certain weight every single day. Like, boxing trainers have it down to where I know what my athlete is going to weigh every day we train together because that's how regimented our training is. With Maverick, that's kind of a weird thing that I'm not a huge fan of. I like Blanchfield, though, mainly due to her wrestling and her grappling ability. If this fight is just contested on the feet, then Maverick's going to have a great opportunity to get it done, but I do think Blanchfield is the slightly more overpowering wrestler.
We're split on the pick. I've got Miranda Maverick, fear thee. Matt has cold-blooded Blanchfield. You let us know down below in the comment section who you have, because this fight features a couple of great prospects in this loaded now flyweight division. You're not going to want to miss it, as well as our big-time fights up at the top. So keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks. We always say, let's get into it.